Noodleheads, presenting Noodlehead's Lucky Day.
Co-written by Tedd Arnold, Martha Hamilton, and Mitch Weiss.
Illustrated by Tedd Arnold.
Part of the series that includes
Noodlehead Nightmares. Noodleheads see the future. Noodleheads find something fishy. Noodlehead's Fortress of Doom. Hi, I'm Mitch Weiss.
And I'm Martha Hamilton.
And we are here today to share with you some of the inspiration behind the 5th book in our Noodlehead series called Noodlehead's Lucky Day,
which we co-wrote with Tedd Arnold, who is famously known as the guy who does Fly Guy, and is also our good buddy and fellow Noodlehead.
We come up with the ideas for the books in the series, write the stories with Tedd, but he does the illustrations.
All the stories are based on folktales about fools, who are also called noodles or noodleheads.
These stories are called folktales because they're stories that were made up by folks just like us long ago. Now, Martha, Tedd, and I will readily admit that we sometimes do foolish things, so we're all noodleheads. Here's a picture to prove it.
Now, you can read the books in the Noodlehead series in any order you like.
But if you want to know more about how the three of us came to work on the series together, watch the video of the first book, Noodlehead Nightmares.
The main characters in the series are two brothers who are, as you can see, macaroni.
We'll let them introduce themselves. I'm Mac.
And I'm Mac.
We're Noodleheads. See in here? It's empty. Vacant. Nada. Nothing. Zero. Zippo. Zilch.
Hey, stop!
The introductory story in the book is based on an old folktale from Turkey about a character named Nasruddin Hoca. There are hundreds of stories told about the Hoca, who is known as a trickster and a wise fool. How can that be? Foolish and wise at the same time? Oh, it can, and the Hoca is definitely some of both. I'm going to tell you the story from our collection, Through the Grapevine, World Tales Kids Can Read and Tell, called Watermelons and Walnuts. Now, you might notice that I'm not sitting underneath a walnut tree. I'm sitting under actually 4 oak trees in our backyard. They don't produce walnuts. They produce acorns. Now, since I've got these 3 objects here, I thought maybe I would juggle for you, but despite my vast skills, I think I'll tell you the story instead. One summer day, the Hoca was out working his garden. As the sun grew hotter, he grew more and more tired. At last, he decided to sit down in the shade of an enormous walnut tree. As he looked at the watermelons growing in his fields, he thought, it doesn't seem right that such a small plant should produce such enormous fruit. Oh, the Hoca stretched and yawned and leaned back against the walnut tree. As he looked up, he thought, it doesn't seem right that such an enormous tree should produce such a tiny little nut. Well, things should be reversed. The small vine in the ground should grow those tiny nuts, and this huge walnut tree should have watermelons hanging from the branches. Oh, what a sight that would be. Quite pleased with himself, the Hoca soon fell fast asleep. But it wasn't long before a walnut fell out of the tree and smacked him on the head. The Hoca awoke with a start and felt the bruise on his head, and it began to swell, and he thought, oh my, it's lucky a little walnut fell out of that tree and only gave me this tiny bruise. Why, if a watermelon had fallen out of the tree, my head would be broken for sure. I never should have questioned the wisdom of nature. With that, the Hoca got up and went back to work, pleased that no one had to worry about falling watermelons. Here's how we used the idea for that story in Lucky Day.
What are those big green things?
I don't know.
Why do big green things grow on little vines?
And why do little nuts grow on big trees?
It should be the opposite.
Yeah, little nuts should go on little vines.
And big green things should grow on big trees.
Ouch!
Ouch! But if big green things grew on big trees,
We would have big bumps now.
so actually,
we got lucky. The expression, we got lucky, is a common one.
On our wedding day, the forecast was for thunderstorms, and most of the wedding was going to be held outdoors.
Miraculously, the storms held off until all the guests had left. We turned to each other and said, "Wow, we got lucky." What is luck? It's something that happens by chance.
Have you ever tried to find a four-leaf clover?
They're supposed to bring good luck, but it's very hard to find one.
One day you could sit in a field of clover and look
And look,
for what seems like
forever.
and not find one.
And on another day, you could, by chance, find one after looking for a couple of minutes. In that case, you'd say, I got lucky.
You'll notice that Mac and Mac say,
We got lucky.
several times in this book.
And in fact, people often say there's something called fool's luck. That is certainly true in many folk tales.
In England, they tell a lot of stories about Jack, the most well-known being Jack and the Beanstalk.
Jack foolishly trades the family's most valuable possession, their cow, for a few beans that are supposedly magic. He gets lucky for sure.
They truly are magic beans.
In the old folk tales, things usually turn out fine for the fools in the end, perhaps because they are generally kind and well-meaning.
And also perhaps because we all do foolish things. And it's comforting to be reminded that a little foolish mistake doesn't mean the end of the world.
Mac and Mac are true noodleheads. They never learn from their mistakes, but we can as we laugh at their silliness.
Just remember, whatever you do,
Don't be a noodlehead.
Wait a minute.
Who did that? Ted? I knew it.
He said it again.
A lot of world stories involve trickery of some kind. I found several stories where one character tricks another one because that character doesn't know the meaning of a word like trouble or misery. You'll see what happens to Monkey in this story from the island of Haiti. One morning, Monkey sat in a tree. He was thinking about clever ways to steal bananas from the farmer who lived down the road. A woman walked by carrying a calabash of honey on her head. She was going to the market where she planned to sell the honey. But suddenly, the woman tripped on a rock. The calabash fell to the ground, and all of the honey was spilled. Oh, trouble, trouble, trouble. I am sick of trouble, said the woman. And then she just turned and headed back home. Now, Monkey had no idea what trouble was, but he was curious, so he climbed down and tasted the honey. This trouble is delicious. And then he ate and ate and ate and ate until all the honey was gone. Oh, I must get more trouble. It is so, so good. And Monkey dashed off, and soon he met the farmer, who said, "Well, Monkey, why are you in such a hurry today?" "Oh, I'm looking for trouble. Can you tell me where I can find some?" "Did you say trouble?" "Yes, trouble. It's even sweeter than your bananas." Now the farmer thought this could be a good chance to get Monkey back for stealing his bananas. So he said, "Oh, Monkey, you want trouble? Oh, I've got trouble, plenty of trouble to share. You just stay right here. I'll be right back." The farmer left and returned pretty quickly with a sack. And he said, "Okay, Monkey, there's a lot of trouble in here for you, all for you, but follow my instructions. Now you take this sack to a big open field. Make sure there are no trees anywhere in sight. And then open the sack. Oh, you are going to have more trouble than you ever dreamed of, Monkey." Well, Monkey thanked the farmer, and he dashed off with that sack. Oh, he ran until he found a big open field, and he just couldn't wait to taste more of that sweet trouble. And so he opened the sack. But when he did, the farmer's 5 dogs, they bounded out, and they chased after Monkey, and oh, poor Monkey, he had to run for his life. And finally, he managed to make it to the edge of the field, where he found a tree and climbed up to safety. Whew. And after that, you can be sure that Monkey never went looking for trouble again.
Now we'll show you how the story Martha just told you inspired part of Chapter 1. Looking for trouble.
We'll start where Meatball has just tripped and spilled his pot of honey.
Oof! Rats! I go to all this trouble, and then I spill it.
What did Meatball spill?
I don't know. Let's find out.
What is it?
He called it trouble.
We've skipped to where Mac and Mac are convinced that honey is called trouble, and Meatball is about to play a trick.
We love trouble.
We want trouble.
Where does it come from? Okay, I'll show you. Wait right there. I'm back. Okay, the things in this bag will make lots of trouble for you. Wait, don't open it until you get home.
If you've already read Noodlehead's Lucky Day, you know what was in the bag. But even if you haven't, you might guess from the size of the bag that Meatball gave Mac and Mac that it wasn't dogs. Now, we don't want to give away anything if you haven't read the book. Let's just say that because the book is about luck, we wondered if maybe we could take a trickster tale and turn it into a Noodlehead story. So we brainstormed, what could happen if Meatball's mean trick ended up being good luck for Mac and Mac? Anyhow, we hope that sharing our ideas and strategies will help you to make up your own stories. These old stories kind of belong to everyone, and you can take the ideas and make them new and your own.
Hi, I'm Tedd Arnold, and I'm really excited about my latest Noodlehead book, Noodlehead's Lucky Day. Now, sometimes kids have asked me, what's the deal with all the names on the cover of these books? Well, let me tell you about this. You know, we're all Noodleheads, all of us on the cover of this book, and it takes 3 Noodleheads to make one reasonably smart person. So let me tell you about the 3 Noodleheads that make these books. Mitch Weiss. Now, he's a Noodlehead, but he says, actually, I'm technically a pasta. And I guess Mitch should know because he used to wash dishes in a restaurant. Martha Hamilton is definitely not a Noodlehead, and she will tell you so. But to be fair, here's what they look like in their civilian clothes. And now this one is the grandest Noodlehead of all. This is, well, Tedd Arnold, myself. So anyway, I love drawing these characters. Everybody can be drawn as a cool Noodlehead. Let me show you how I got the idea for how I was going to draw Noodleheads. And it all started when Mitch and Martha asked me about doing a book about Noodleheads. And I first thought about macaroni, my favorite noodles. So I went and I got a macaroni out of the cupboard. And I thought, oh, I can work with this. So I got a macaroni and I took a picture of it. Yeah, and I put it on my computer and I pulled a nice big print of it. So, okay, I'm going to work with this macaroni and make a character. First, I got rid of the background so you could see the noodle nice and clearly. Then I got rid of my hand too, so now all we've got is the noodle. But that's a little small to work on, so I blew it up nice and big. So now we've got a noodle that I can work on. But there was one thing I didn't like about this big giant opening at the top, and I wanted to squeeze it down a little bit, make it smaller. And you can do that in Photoshop. So I squeezed the top down. Now, I like the shape of that head for the noodle head. But I thought this noodle was still a little too long. So I looked at it and I decided I would cut it off about there. So when I did it, it looked like this. Now I've got a piece of a noodle that I can work on. So I got out my Sharpie marker and I started drawing on top of that noodle. And I thought that the character that came out was really fun looking. So I went right to my colors and I started coloring in his clothes and his eyes and everything till it looked like this. I really like this. But you know, there was something that didn't feel quite right about this. And I remembered macaroni, when you cook it, it changes color. Well, I needed to change the color. So I got out a pot and I boiled up a noodle head and it came out with just the right color. Now there is a noodle head to be happy with. I just want to remind you that you don't have to look like a noodle head to be a noodle head.